Internal controls actually helps in checking effectiveness and efficiency of our business and also the reliability of the financial reporting. So internal control and internal control systems are quite very important to successes of businesses, and also in our syllabus is very important to us. And reflecting back to the last results on auditing and assurance, be it on skill level, professional level, foundation level, and the like, it is important for us to make this video to help ourselves. And that is why we are making this video, to ensure that we touch on this crucial topic, no matter how, in on all the levels. These control questions are going to come out definitely, and we are going to be overviewing the internal control. And in overviewing it, for this video now, primarily we are going to be talking about the objectives and the essential features of internal control. That is what we will be dealing with in this video. But nevertheless, because it's an overview, we are going to overview the scope and the components of internal control systems, the components that we have in internal control system. We are going to be talking about, under the components, the control environment. What is control environment? Risk assessment, control procedures. We are going to understand that, information and communication system in within an organization, and monitoring, essential parts and components of control system. Then we will talk about internal control and their inherent limitation. Don't forget, internal control system actually is man-made, and everything man-made is subject to, you see, imperfection, we should call it, or yeah. So we need to understand the inherent risk, inherent limitation of our internal control systems put in place, and how we can actually overcome them. So we will be dealing with that, and also factors that determine the success of internal control system. And that is why it is important for us to know the limitation of our controls that we are putting in place. We are going to examine how to ascertain system that is working or system that is not working. We are going to understand the methods of recording the system, the control system, method of recording like flowcharting and the like, verbatim. We are going to understand them and how to use them, and when to use them and when not to use them. Also, evaluation of internal control system will be discussed, and equally key control areas will be discussed. And you see, if question is going to come out, actually is going to touch on some key control areas. And having gone through this video or listened to and watched this video will give us an edge, and we can easily remember. We are going to understand reporting and its importance, the importance of reporting or reportage about the internal control systems to the management. And last but not the least, that we will be touching on, we'll be touching on the internal audit as a control factor. So from GJAMES Associates, we are on several platforms like Facebook, Instagram. Join us and like us. Let's do it together to make it sweeter. So the objectives of internal control system and internal control. Here we are, that we have been waiting for. Primarily, the objective of internal control is to ensure business transactions are conducted in efficient manner, in effective manner, and there is orderliness, that is talking of process or processes. So objective of a good internal control system is to ensure that there are processes put in place that will result to orderliness in our business dealings and affairs, which will result into effectiveness and efficiency and efficient utilization of our resources. Also, to ensure adherence to management policies, so we need to set and put internal controls and internal checks and balances in place to safeguard the assets of our organization, and last but not the least, to secure completeness and accuracy of our record. That's touching on the reporting. So therefore, this objective is called from the definition of internal control, which is the totality of the control or policies put in place by the management to safeguard primarily the assets of the organization, of course, to cause orderliness to be in place, completeness of our records and the like. So this is the essence of the objective of internal control systems. So let us move on right about now to the other aspects that we are to touch on now. The essential feature of an internal control system. What are the things that we are going to see or must talk about when we are discussing internal control system? Number one, the detailed nature of the control operative within any organization or commercial organization must depend and will depend on its size and the nature of business. The size, the nature of business. Please don't forget, every internal control, every policy that we are going to set in place cannot be more than what we want to guard or safeguard, the asset we want to safeguard. So cannot be over and above our size. Please don't forget that. The essential feature, one of the essential feature of internal control system is that the size and the nature of our business is very important and germane and primary when we are setting up internal control system. Another thing that we feature is the number of administrative staff that we have. The larger the number of the organization's member, the more solid and sophisticated and complicated the internal control system become. Maybe I should come again slowly. Here we have, let's say for example, 2 to 5 member of staff. Delegation, approval and the like, all those stages of internal control will be limited. But as we continue to grow and the organization progresses, we must put much check and balance in place. Don't forget to, more resources will be made available for us to put controls in place. Therefore, the number of our staff generally, maybe we should not limit ourselves to administrative staff, but the number of our staff generally will inform our control and what type of control we need to put in place. Let me give us an example. An organization that's, let's say, 5 to 10 people, they may not really need logical device to log on when they come in, when they go out and the like, because people's movement can easily be monitored. I want to believe we agree. But as the organization continue to progress and gets enlarged, there may be need for logical login device that will be electronic, that will tell us that somebody comes to the organization, somebody has just left for a break, and somebody has resumed back to work, or somebody closes. So that is what that actually meant. Another important subject of discussion is the volume of transaction. Volume of our transaction. When we have large volume of transaction, it will inform us that we may need to go by internal control systems that are electronic based, more and less of physical controls, and more of electronic information technology control being put in place. So it's another essential feature that we are going to see in internal control systems. Also, the materiality of transaction consigned will feature in setting up our internal control system. Please, the question that may come in this regards will be very tricky. Please, it's good for us to understand what I'm talking about, and if there are any gray area, please comment so that I can revisit it. The materiality of our transaction. An organization that is turning or churning out billions of sales in any currency, the materiality will not be the same with organization that is churning out hundreds of millions of any currency as sales. So therefore, the control that we put in place will be different equally. So that is another important feature of control system that we must understand. Also, the importance placed upon the internal control by the organization's own management. Now we are touching on what we call the control environment. We are touching on the control environment now. The total attitude of the management, of the directors, of the management staff, of the employee towards the policies put in place, controls put in place. This is another thing that we must talk about anytime we are talking about internal control system. Also, the management style. Now, we will talk about the body language. Action speaks louder than voice. So the management style of the entity, particularly the trust placed in integrity, on honesty, on key personnel and the like, is very important. The supervision, the control, whether they micromanage or not, all those things will affect the thoroughness and the type of internal control that we will actually need, the management style. Last but not the least that we are going to be mentioning will be on the geographical distribution of the organization. How spread abroad are we? Are we in a state, or in a country, in many states and many branches in a country, or we are spread across the globe? So depending on how distributed we are geographically, uh, it will inform the type of internal control, the nature of internal control system that we need to put in place. I hope we understand how to manage, the way we will manage an organization that has 3 to 5 branches will be different from an organization that has hundreds of thousands, or hundred of thousands of branches. So this is another important feature of the internal control that we must consider. Having said that, we are going to be looking at, after this video, will be the importance of internal control system and also types of internal control systems. My name is Benga Olatunji FCA from GJAMES Associate Channel. We want to believe you must have received value now. Please subscribe and Why won't you subscribe? Join us to talk about the importance and types of internal control systems. From GJAMES Associate Channel, Benga Olatunji FCA, we have value to life, we have value to your businesses.